Hello, my friends, and welcome to the Space Game Junkie podcast. I, as always, am your co host, Brian, and joining me, as always, is your co host, Jim.
Yes. I cannot even start this ship. What's happening? Remember whenever I asked for Falcon 4 in space?
Oh, you're
I've
getting
got it.
it.
I've got it. It's here. Now I need the manual and the big keyboard layout thing.
Oh,
That's what I
yeah.
need next. Remember those keyboard things? You'd actually like lay it on your keyboard and it had like all
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. I love
You,
those so much because all the
I'm a s-
keyboards were the same back then. So you could make like the F-19, you can make the F-19, keyboard layout thing.
oh totally.
Overlay,
Well,
the overlay, yeah.
Microprose believed in all 104 keys plus all
Goddamn
of the
right they did.
control and
I,
yeah,
th-
because you got to put it in green, blue, and red.
I think it was what? It was F-15 Strike Eagle 3 that had like I think I almost broke my hand trying to like change radar modes in that one or something.
Yes. And that's why, because we have Rogue System on tonight with Mike Giuliano. Oh, I'm sorry, I've just introduced the game.
Well, we're getting there.
But, but, and our
Yes.
co-host Hunter.
What up? What up? I'm actually really excited about Rogue System. I think it's a phenomenal experience because one thing that I've always liked about, I know I got my experience into like the space sim genre pretty late in the game, right? I came in with X-Wing Alliance. That was kind of like my introduction to it. So I came in way late, right?
You
But
came
the
in
thing
while it was going out.
Right, exactly. But the thing that I fell in love with X-Wing Alliance that always just was phenomenal to me was the fact that not only was it a joystick game, but you actually had all these keys on the keyboard that you had to use as well in order to like be a good pilot, really. And I'm really excited about this game. I think there's a lot of keyboard stuff that's going to go on. There's a lot of mapping that's going to need to happen. As a matter of fact, this is one of those games where I'm actually looking forward to like the custom control panels and stuff like that, right? Because I see all these guys do that with Elite Dangerous. They have these custom control panels with their touchscreen tablets, and I'm thinking to myself, why? Like, you don't need all of that for such a simple game like Elite Dangerous. I get the foot pedal thing, I get the head tracker thing, I get the joystick thing, but why, oh why do you need all that stuff? This is the game that I want those extra custom panels for. Like, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
So, Mike, has anybody sent you pictures of like here's my spare room turned into a cockpit for Rogue System yet? Because it's coming.
It's actually it already came.
Okay.
I've gotten quite a few requests to support custom cockpits, and actually there is one guy. He already started putting together hardware that was actually designed to look like the controls for the prototype ship. It was very cool just to see it, see that people were already doing that.
That is actually really cool.
Okay,
Yeah, because I
guys. Go ahead.
yeah, I had a friend some years back that she built like a full size F-16 cockpit in their spare room, and she like designed the ejector seat and did, you know, was nuts. And then she got
Did,
even
did it did it
crazier.
work?
Yes, she okay. So she bought the instruments online, like the altimeter and all the things with needles that spin, and those were all hooked up USB. And when she bought them, they were disassembled, so you actually had to put the gears together and stuff in it. And she was like a Swiss watchmaker building this stuff. It was a lot more time invested than I have patience. That's for sure. So but you were saying like the elite cockpits and stuff. I've seen some people do some crazy crap with those, where the guy will have like four MFDs and it's
Hey,
all like push button and
don't get me
Android
wrong.
tablets.
Like, don't get me wrong. That stuff's cool. I just think
It's
it's
just
a
not
bit
necessary.
right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, but where something like this, because okay, the what I would like in this game too thus far is DCS, right? Because you get an in-depth study simulation of a particular aircraft or spacecraft, if you will, in this. And just like in DCS, you have to go through like the manual startup sequence, which that A10C, even on a good day, takes me 10 minutes to fire that thing up. And sometimes I just want to play it and I just whack the easy key. But it's nice. It's just comforting to know that the level of fidelity of the simulation is such that if I look down there and I see a switch, then that switch does what it does in the real aircraft. And I think at this point, like come a Red Dawn sort of scenario, I could be Patrick Swayze and just get an A-10 and beat back the North Koreans or whoever invades us, right? So I'm prepared. My body is ready.
Well, folks, if you couldn't figure it out already, we have a guest this week.
We're already in it. We're in deep.
We're
guys.
in
We
it.
like this.
We're already in it.
I'm immersed. It is immersive.
So we're doing a few things different this week. One, we're trying to use cameras to just a little show note. We're trying to use cameras to see each other so we don't interrupt each other as much. And second, I'm forgetting to record things. So the audio for this might be a little funky, and I apologize. Whoops. I forgot to hit the record button. But we have a guest this week. Please put your hands together for our very first guest back in episode 3. 3, Jim. Remember episode 3?
I do.
Those halcyon days?
Oh, that was the one with with like they kill the Dooku, right, in episode 3.
Did they kill him in 3?
Oh, sorry, not in Star.
I thought they killed him in... No, he got away in 2, didn't he? He got away in 2.
Yeah, so we can see when Hunter actually walks away now, and
That's true.
He's
That's true.
uninformed.
That's true. Well, friends, welcome back to the show. The developer of Rogue System, Michael Juliano. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you.
And Brian was kind of doing a little walk in there. What the heck?
Yo,
I was talking to you guys.
sorry, I get a little wow.
No. See, when you push it, it's not natural. When you just do it, then the Philly rolls out, and you're good. So we'll just cherish it when it happens and not call your attention to it.
So Mike is the owner of Digital Cross Interactive, who's been working. You've been working on this for years, and at least a few years now, and it just hit Steam like a month ago, right?
I'd say he's been working on that as long as we've been working on this. How's that?
Longer.
If you count all the time I've been thinking about it, designing and learning how to code and this and that, yes, it's been years.
And we had you on about a year ago. You were on episode 101, so this is your third time on. And you gave me a build then to play with, and it was nowhere near as robust as this one is. That one felt way different than this new one.
Yeah, well, a lot of this past year we were in ISI had their own early access program before we went to Steam, and it wasn't, it didn't sell a lot, and it was off of Steam, so we weren't really expecting that. But there were a lot of very interested people that did jump in, and I really made use of a lot of their feedback. I tried to refine things, and they gave me feedback on things that seem to feel weird with system functionality, and a lot of good ideas too. And I just been trying to incorporate all that as we move to Steam early access, and just take it, a step up.
We do have a question. I think the answer is yes, but I just wanted to clarify. We got a question in Twitch. Will this be co-op? And I believe that is part of the plan later down the line, right?
Yes. One of the 3 expansions, the 3 planned expansions, will add multiplayer. Multiplayer is actually, the idea of multiplayer is already in the code. For example, the game code doesn't care if a human or an AI is sitting at like the pilot station. All it cares about is, who's ever sitting there, just press this button, so I have to react to it. So it would be very easy for a human player to jump in and take over an AI spot. So yes, later on, I would like to have, people on multiple ships, but I definitely want to have multi-crew on a single ship. That is the absolute must-have.
That's really hot, I have to say. That is really hot. Because, I mean, are we just talking one pilot and one co-pilot, or can like the 3 of us podcast co-host take over one ship together? Is that...
That would depend on how many stations... ships have passenger space and they have crew space. So it just depends on how many crew stations there are as to how many people would operate the ship. But in theory, if you have sleeping space for, let's say, 20 people could occupy that ship.
That'd be amazing. Hey,
That's pretty awesome.
hey, friends, I need 20 people tonight to help me do this one mission. I mean, I know you said you have AI, but that'd be amazing. 20 people in one ship. Okay, guys, Bill, you push that button. Jim, you do this at 5 seconds. That's gonna be amazing.
Could you imagine though? Like this is more than what I wanted from like some of these other like bridge simulator type games, right? Where you actually have a physical ship that is embodied by physical avatars instead of just being like, I have a station in front of me, but I don't know anything else about the ship. Where it's like, okay, well, our engineer just died. We need somebody to go down to engineering and like turn a wrench, you know.
Exactly. That sounds absolutely incredible. I gotta
So
say.
what I need to know is when Mike is going to work on the Mech Warrior game where I get to see a giant robot, because that's what I
Hey.
need next.
If I ever get Rogue System done, I would actually like to work on a mech game.
Yes, I just made that sound.
Because I think that level of detail with a mech would again be awesome.
You would be huge in Japan, like overnight. I'll tell you.
There actually is. I don't know if you noticed. There is. I think it's on Greenlight or something now. But there is a multi-crew mech game some Russian dude is making. It's like 2-person co-op in the same mech. I saw.
Oh,
the
that's
other day.
interesting because they had one that was going to be almost like a Voltron where it needed 5 players and each player controlled like an arm, a leg, the head. Yeah.
That sounds awful. Like,
Yeah,
how would you coordinate that?
Speaking of
it kickstarted, but I don't think it made it beyond. So,
speaking
yeah.
of, your microphone sounds like echoey, like you're a robot yourself, sir.
Excellent. I don't know why. Must be the Skypes.
Yeah, folks, we're back on Skype because too many people are having too many issues with Mumble, which is kind of a shame. But what are you gonna do? Anyway, so yeah, how much work? What has actually changed between like Mike the last time we had you on and now? Like, what are some of the big things you have changed, either from your own ideas or from player feedback?
I don't think any. Okay, there's been no major changes as far as the overall design goal is concerned.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, I'm still happy with where I want Rogue System to go. I think the major changes just came again with their feedback concerning, okay, this I just did this and I didn't really get the feedback I expected from the ship, that sort of thing. So that's trying to incorporate more feedback for the players so they have a better understanding of what's going on has been a big focus, and a lot of that has to do with how the controls display information to the player. You notice that now the labels change as the system functionality changes, color coding on the buttons themselves, that sort of thing. Just trying to feed more information out there.
Yeah, because from what I remember, the cockpit, I mean, all the functionality is still there, but the layout and the usability has significantly improved.
Exactly. And that was an old prototype cockpit too that you saw in the last one. This is the first of the 3 final flyable ships that will be in the core module.
Oh, okay, so so this ship is kind of like a tall B-wingy thing. It's very vertical.
Yeah.
What are the other 2 ships that will be in the core module?
Okay, this is again.
I know we're in early access. I know
Yeah.
things can change. Let's just say that right now. Things can change, folks.
The core module is campaign based, and again, there are 3 squadrons. Each squadron flies a type of ship, and they all work together to complete mission goals. This ship right here is kind of like combat services. They'll do search and rescue, ship recovery, that sort of thing. There will be a larger, heavier ship that will carry, larger weapons. I'll say like a strike craft. It would be like it would be like your B-1B bomber, and then you will have a smaller ship to escort it.
Oh, that's pretty cool. And so there's a campaign now. Help me remember. Is this a military campaign where you get assigned a squad, and so you'll be in a squad that flies one of those ships, or will you be
Yeah,
able to go back and forth?
the basic gist is you are part of the small colony. You are part of their local security force, their local police, if you will. And your system is invaded by an opposing colony, and basically you're trying to mount a defense against this much larger, more technically advanced force. Um, so yes, in a hurry, they're going to assemble these ragtag combat squadrons to try and again mount a defense for this.
Right, right. So you're gonna be like the ragtag bunch, which I like. I like.
Now, the long-term goal is again a more space exploration, trading. You can buy, sell, upgrade, own your own ships, etc., etc. But again, since right now it's me by myself, I have to keep the core module very focused, so I have an actual chance of finishing all the work. So a campaign based system with very fixed assets against an opposing force with very fixed assets. That's that's a finite amount of work that I know I can achieve. If I
Ah,
start if I start building all this modular stuff and all the cargo you have to haul and all the multiple holes that you would need for a more of a free form game, there's no way I could do that by myself.
so in
Uh,
other words, you're not feature
Fine.
creeping yourself.
Exactly. I'm trying to, there's the core module and the three expansions, and I'm trying to stay very focused on each one.
Yeah,
Now,
I kind of slipped that in there. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but
and then now that we can actually see each other, I'm giving you like a thumb. Like I had noticed you're about to do it, so I didn't interrupt you. Yeah, this is working. So remind me, what are there going to be? There's going to be the core module, which is going to be the campaign, the main campaign. But you have three other modules, three expansions planned after that. Remind me what those are, so the folks listening can know what they are as well.
The first one I'm calling the Maverick module, and that will be the introduction of the open-ended sandbox elite type of play, if you will. You can own multiple ships. You'll be able to hire a crew. Um, buy, sell, trade, whatever however it is you make money, and you'll be able to go through multiple star systems to do this. The core module is focused to your local star system. Again, it's just to keep things focused on achievable goals. The second planned module adds the multi-crew multiplayer, and then the third planned module, I would like to. I'm really going to focus on the first-person aspect of it, um, and introduce first-person combat into. You'll be able to breach other ships and try and take them over and that sort of thing. And somewhere in there is already an atmospheric model. It's very, very limited right now, but eventually I do want to support surface landings and such.
So eventually, when all three modules are done, Star Citizen will just be coming out, and you might have a little competition, maybe.
Well, it
Maybe.
might be in beta at that point.
Maybe a beta.
but
The word beta will lose all of its meaning when that happens.
Well, I mean, unless I can hire people to help, which I mean, don't get me wrong, I do not want to do this by myself. I would much rather work with a team, but a team costs money. So, I mean, if I can't hire team members, again, I know I can achieve everything if I take them in small chunks, but it's going to take a while. Just I'm not deluding myself that I'll be done with everything in a couple of years. No, that won't happen.
Well, and here's the thing. I mean, you've been very clear that you're the only one pretty much working on this. You've been very clear about setting people's expectations because I've noticed I've glanced at the Steam forums and whatnot, and whereas I'm sure you've seen some Steam forums can be just piles of crap, piles of burning dumpsters. You know, your Steam forums seem for the most part pretty positive.
Um, I think a lot of that has to do with the niche. Um, you know,
Probably.
the small niche that this kind of thing brings in. It's sci-fi, but it's hard. It's hardcore flight systems. It's this very small, defined little group, and I think the people that come into it are very serious about it, and they really enjoy it. Um, and I think that translates over to the community. and how they interact.
What would you say is the biggest thing you've learned from them so far?
Uh, from the community,
Yeah.
that's a good question. I get so many comments and ideas and suggestions. Um, I won't say I learned it from them, but one thing I have learned about the community is to be as open-minded and as open as possible.
Yeah, I'm sure that helped. That also helps set expectations. I mean,
Um, Absolutely. If you hit a setback, tell somebody. Let them know. Hey, I did my best. I hit the snag. I'm going to work through it. That's the best I can do.
it's got to be like one thing I've noticed about early access, and this is probably the razor's edge that you walk on, is setting the expectation of the user while at the same time saying, "Hey, we still have a lot of work to do. This isn't done." I mean, how difficult has it been to walk that line?
It's not difficult. I don't think it is because I choose not to overhype. I choose to tell the truth. It's early access. This is where I want to go, and this is where I am. And I could push as hard as I want, and all that would end up doing is push out sloppy work, and no one wants that. I will work at a speed that I know I can accomplish goals um, as quickly as possible, as cleanly as possible, with as few bugs as possible, and I'll get there when I get there.
Yeah, other developers should take note because it's so frustrating to see a lot of people either get burnt out on early access or early access just failing. So it's always it seems like a good early access period is the exception rather than the norm anymore.
It seems to be, and I will admit, honesty does not sell. Um,
It's
I
not
mean,
sexy. It's not sexy at all.
I could overhype and I could promise this and I could promise that, and I would probably sell a whole lot more. Um, but I would have a lot more. Um, People would be a whole lot more upset when they didn't get it, and I'm not about that. Like I said, it is what it is, and I'm just trying to do the best I can with what I got.
So now that the game is on Steam, are you still selling it through the your publisher's website, or is it entirely through Steam now?
It's entirely through Steam. Uh, I have very little control over it, but it seems at the moment that ISI is very Steam oriented, so that's where they're leaning. The only thing that you can do through their website now is, let's say, there is the $10 early access package that
Right.
just let you check it out during the early access period. The only thing you can do now is upgrade to the core module for $20, using that $10 package as a discount, so you can get a Steam key.
Oh, okay, that seems reasonable because I'm sure
So
they're.
I
Otherwise, everything's being sold through Steam. Yeah.
so ISI, I'm not real familiar with them, at least to call it that. So what else?
Image, I'm sorry.
What,
Image Space Incorporated. They focused on racing. They they were an indie developer. They were with EA for a while. They've always focused on racing sims, but very
okay.
hard for racing sims.
So do they have any other titles that are on Steam right now without me
They have
looking?
R Factor and R Factor 2.
Oh, okay, those
Oh,
guys.
there are
Gotcha.
factor. Oh,
Yes.
okay. You might have mentioned that last time, but I completely forgot because I look at our factor. It goes on sale every now and again. I look at it, I'm like, no, 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 no.
It's really good. It's not visually, it's not quite as sexy as some of the other titles, but the fidelity of the driving experience is, I think, much higher.
Yeah, see,
Uh,
that's the thing. I usually for driving games, I lean more toward the arcadey side of things, like the Codemasters
Yeah,
typical side of thing, the
the thing
dirt.
about the thing about those games though is that they are mod city, like that. Those were just made for modders to go wild in. So that's kind of what goes on.
Yeah, and that's one of R Factor's big draws is, its accessibility to the mod community. And actually, I used to work with those guys. I was their lead track artist for the longest time. Um,
Oh, so you already had a relationship with them?
yes,
Oh,
yes,
that's awesome.
it
So was
was.
that your 9 to 5 that you left to come do this?
It was. Um, it was actually pretty cool that they, gave me the opportunity to leave and to do this and still have that relationship with them.
Yeah, it shows
But
that they're a quality bunch.
yeah, what I found really cool about it was the mod community for R Factor, and people always, I just made this track, and oh, I just built this car, and they're really jazzed about it. I really tried to incorporate that into the design for Rogue System. Um,
So
so
you're saying that I'm going to be flying an X-wing about a week after release,
I,
then,
I
because the modders will get this, and
I obviously cannot condone the creation of
you cannot confirm or deny that. Yeah,
the,
I
the
got it.
of licensed things for a Rogue System, but I am fully expecting it.
That's pretty awesome. How hard is I forget which engine are you using for Rogue System?
Graphics engine I use LEDWorks, which is
Right.
an OpenGL engine. Uh, and one of the draws for that was obviously the price. I couldn't afford anything. Okay, I I could afford other engines, but if you do a commercial product, then they take you know they have their cut as well. So you try to avoid that. But one of the big draws for LeadWorks was it's very open, it's very liberal as far as what you can do in it, and it also has native Linux support. And eventually, I do want to get Rogue Syst onto different platforms.
Oh, that would be amazing. I'm sure the Mac and Linux gaming community would love that.
Yeah, but obviously, I can't do more than one platform at a time, and the major platform happens to be Windows, so that's what I have to start with.
Yeah, it's. I wonder if you could target console, like specifically the PlayStation, because they're doing the PlayStation VR, and if you had something like this, I don't know how you would work the controls. I
Yeah,
guess
how would you do that?
with the VR thing, you just look at the button, right? Because you got a crosshair, so you use your head to aim that, and then just click a button on the gamepad, and you'd be in the same place. But um, yeah, it's like if the PlayStation VR survives through the first year, I would say that's going to be the platform to reckon with in the console space.
Yeah, I actually have a Vive dead kit sitting right next to me, and I'm dying to get the time to work with it because the wands seem precise enough to you could reach out and actually click on a switch or point at it and click at it, and it seems precise enough to be able to do that. So I'm kind of looking forward to it.
We get closer to Ready Player One every day, it seems. So wait, you are planning on VR support for this thing at some point? I mean, it makes perfect sense. It already has head tracking in there and everything, so that just
Yes,
makes perfect sense.
I plan on it. I certainly want to support it. Um, the trick is just to get in there, check it out, and see if it's actually feasible. If there's enough resolutions in the headsets to where you can make things out. Otherwise, do I want to take time to create a specific user interface so you can see switches that normally you could read on a PC monitor? There's a lot of things to consider with it.
Sorry, we're actually getting some spam in the YouTube chat room. Guys, we've made it. We're getting spam.
Oh, that's it, man. We're
Yeah.
famous.
Yeah.
That's our first spam. So should we give them a code? Like they won. It's like here. Perhaps not.
Speaking of that, just real quick, Mike was nice enough to give me some codes for this. So when this goes live as an actual podcast in a day or two, there will also be a contest to go along with it. So stay tuned for that, because you can win a copy of this bad boy, and then you could suffer through the tutorials like I have, going where, what, oh my god, what do I push? I don't mean suffer. I'm kidding, but I've only done 2 tutorials, Mike, and they're crazy, and I love them, and they're crazy, and I love. And I love them.
I like the one guy's his speed run of the startup of the ship. It was like 7.5 minutes, and he was clicking like mad.
That's a speed run. That's crazy.
Yeah. So there's no point here where you have to like in the A10, whenever you start the navigation system, you actually have to sit there for a few minutes and let the gyroscope stabilize and stuff. So you're not going to that level, right, where you just make the player sit and twiddle their thumbs for a while.
The only thing you have to really sit and wait for are at the moment is the fuel cells. They take a while to warm up before you can use them, and low energy nuclear reactor. Its core has to heat up before you can use it. But there's other things to do while that's going on, so there's not much actual waiting involved.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because it's the inertial navigation system is
Sure.
what's doing it in the A10 because
Yeah.
all that stuff has to spin. So
So I have a question since Jim mentioned the A10. Did you model this? I don't think I asked this last time. Did you model this after a specific aircraft, or did you model it based on what you thought you would see in a futuristic spacecraft?
That one came from one of the 2D or the 2D artist over at Image Space. Um, I just asked him one day, "Hey, if you have a free minute, sketch out a couple ship, shapes for me." And this is what it's intended for. And he sent the one over, and I was like, "Yeah, that one makes sense." So that's the one I worked with, and we just kind of expanded on that idea.
Yeah, because I mean, I've been playing with switches and stuff, and it all makes perfect sense. You know
Yeah.
how you would expect a ship with like a nuclear engine and fuel cells that aren't infinite, like dilithium, whatever. You know, it all seems to make very logical sense.
yeah, and
Well,
I'm highly advantaged now because I got my X56 last week, and I have all these toggle switches, and I can
oh,
do things with them.
uh, I just got my Thrustmaster Warthog just came in, and what a piece of kit that is.
Yeah,
Uh,
we're in the same boat. It's like
yeah,
your hats are a little different, but I think like the toggles and stuff are pretty similar.
yeah, and
I love having that on the throttle where I didn't have to drill holes in the throttle and do it myself.
well, one of the reasons I got the Warthog was so I could properly support toggle switches because I don't right now. But I need to get something here that I can work with, so that should be coming soon.
Okay, because this thing, I don't know how that one does it, but this one just treats it as joystick button presses because they're all momentaries. So there's not one where you flip it and it stays in a position.
Yeah,
So it's just
I think the Warthog actually has its toggles actually stay in an on state, so I have to account for that.
oh yeah.
Okay, we got a question from someone on YouTube, Flying Text. What about space travel? Is obviously all space travel. Is it super long and basically just staring at the screen? I think he's asking, do you mean, is there any like time acceleration or any kind of micro in system warp type thing?
No, it's actually real time, and so like you start going to Mars and then no.
Okay, yeah, it is proper orbital mechanics. It's an N body system up to three bodies. Uh, it's all velocity based, gravity based, as you would expect. Um, so yes, it can take in real time a long time to get from point A to point B. There is a 5 times time acceleration just to speed up orbits. Just when you're waiting for something to happen. And there's also the idea of suspended animation when you have a 1 or 2 day trip to make, you can quote unquote sleep that time away. And so you enter suspended animation by, pressing the button right now. And then you wake up about 10 seconds later and you're there.
Now,
And
can
the,
that can I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
go ahead. Go ahead.
No, can that be interrupted? Like if you're in suspended animation, can that be interrupted by like a proximity alarm or something like that, and you're woken up suddenly?
That is the intent, but it doesn't do that right now. Right now, it's an on
Oh.
state. It's a very preliminary version of it. But if you go in just one star system, it can take 2 days to reach one planet from another. Uh, so, and you actually could sit there and fly it in real time. It would absolutely work, but I don't think anyone wants to sit there for 2 days. So yes, you can do that.
So I have a question about the drives and stuff. So without getting into newtons and whatnot, how many G's would you say you're putting out of this thing? Because like 1 G being 9.8 meters per second squared, right?
Yeah.
So I did the math with some people on a different game and figured out like okay if you could actually sustain 1 G of acceleration without running out of fuel in a couple of days. So it would be like a 3-day trip to Mars.
Yes.
actually, because it's like halfway there you're accelerating, halfway there you decelerate, and it's actually a lot faster than what you'd think, because we were talking about just, well, instead of artificial gravity, you just make the floor the back wall, and that way the only time you're not experiencing 1 g of gravity is whenever you have to invert the ship to do a deceleration.
Right.
Um, so I know that you probably know exactly how much newtons of thrust this ship's knocking out, because I'm looking at like all the other stuff that's over on that right hand panel, and it's just like, I know you did some math. So can you do more than 1 g sustained, or what are you doing?
The the main engines, they're Vassimer based engines. Uh, they can sustain, each one does like 0.4 Gs, and you have two of them. So you can top. I think you both engines combined, you top out at 1.02 Gs.
Okay, so yeah, you're right on the money then.
Yes.
So
Now,
yeah.
excuse me, the main engine system, that is not Vassimer based. The maneuvering thruster system is Vassimer based. The main engine system is based on resonant cavity, an M drive.
Okay, is that like the atomic light bulb thing that I read about on what was that, atomicrockets.com? That
Uh,
was what they called it. It's basically like it's a non-emission engine. You're not ejecting matter out the back.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Um, it's a I'm not. It's a propellantless engine, simply because it doesn't eat fuel, but it does need power, and to generate power you need fuel. So it actually kind of is a propellant based engine. It's weird, but yeah.
Yeah, so basically you're like dropping uranium pellets in it and burning them out, and
Yeah.
but it's not like you're actually firing chemicals and
Right. And it's based off NASA, and some other groups have been working with their M drive and have been getting positive results, and can't really understand why. So I just kind of took that work and extrapolated it, and okay, what if we did figure out why this does work, and is it more than just a magnetic base glitch because we're not testing in in a vacuum, blah blah blah. So that's where the idea came from.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, a thing that I haven't seen anybody do in a game. Well, there was 2 games, but they were back like early '90s that ever touched this. But that all that like tinfoil hat UFO research that's gone on into like how a flying saucer's propulsion might work, as far as like uh, magnetic field manipulation and gravity distortion, things like that. I'm surprised nobody has actually made a space sim of some sort that has an actual flying disc in it, that type of propulsion shape.
Well, yeah, well, I mean, but if you think about it, no, not that kind of shape, but if any of the typical space shooters, they're kind of they're kind of manipulating that idea, because they have an artificial gravity, and they can do these amazing maneuvers that would crush up the people inside normally.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah.
Yeah, did you see that thing that NASA was talking about as far as warp drive, where the ship that they were talking about kind of looked like the thing from Interstellar a little bit. So it was basically like a space shuttle, and then it had a toroidal ring around the front and the back. And they said, okay, if we generate this field, because the problem they said that they had with it is they would need like the amount of energy of like the planet Jupiter to be able to make a field that would actually do warp. And then they realized, like, well, wait, that's because our toroids were too big. So if we make them just a hair bigger than the ship, then we cut that down exponentially. So they were like, someday we might be able to invent a power source that could do it.
Yeah,
And
I was reading about it, and that's kind of that's kind of what the system to system drive is going to be based on when that's introduced later.
oh, okay. See, the thing that's wild about that though is you end up with some ships that don't look a darn thing like the conventional jet fighter in space kind of ship design, right?
And
So
they
you're
should.
you're yeah, and so you're going to have a very like utility will dictate what the ship's going to look like. It's not necessarily going to be like a sleek, sexy sports car thing.
And that
So
is precisely the way it should be.
yeah, Yeah, it was. We had Ken Burnside on a few months back, and his ships, because he did a board game that's uh, like vector-based Newtonian physics kind of stuff simulated in a board game, pretty complicated. It Starfleet battles it ain't.
Mm.
that's that's for sure. So it's a learning commitment to figure out how to play this 3D thing on a 2D board. But his ships in there, they basically look like a spiked mace on a stick because the radiator is like the most important thing because they're trying to get rid of all that heat, and there's no air medium that can convey it away. So that basically they've got like this thing that looks like a giant spike ball on the tail that's trying to dissipate all that engine heat so it doesn't bake the crew. So it's they're very much utility based, not sexy designs. But anyway,
Yeah.
so the ship that you've got in the game here, like Brian was saying, it's kind of a B-wing sort of affair, right? So the cockpit's in the center, and then you have like an arm that goes vertically out the top and the bottom, and then the engines are on the ends of that, right? Is that what's the reasoning behind that design and why you chose to go that way?
Again, it's a utility or a service vehicle, and that aft docking port is there's no crew access. It's strictly for towing. So you can imagine that you might be towing, another ship back to base, or you might be towing cargo from one station to another. So you certainly want those ion drives to be above and below whatever it is you're towing. That's superheated plasma. You don't want to be blowing that right out onto, a ship that you're towing or whatever. So that was the main reason for separating those engines so much.
Yeah, and it also gets it away from the crew because that
Right.
people are a little bit susceptible to those high radiation things. So, well, what
Oh,
did you how did you end up with like the over under? Because a lot of people would have went like almost like wings, right, out the left and the right. So it's kind of novel that it's over under.
Yeah, that was more aesthetic than it was anything else. Again, I wanted, if you're towing something, I wanted a lot of pitch authority. And you could have made it yaw authority. It's one way or another. But I just kind of like the vertical look for that one, so that's what I went with.
Oh, okay.
it's also quite eye catching.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's definitely nobody else has a ship that looks like that, so that's pretty cool. The only as far as the towing part of it goes, since you bring that up and separating that, what it makes me think of is in Independence War 2, the ship that you get there is a tug, and it's kind of like just a big fat ugly utility ship, and then you start bolting cool guns on it and stuff. But when it starts out, it's just a cheap tugboat.
Right.
You just got me thinking of those fighter turrets in Independence War 2 that are like my favorite thing, and I wish more games had those. Remember what I'm
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
about?
yeah. You undock the turrets off the ship and fly 'em,
Ah,
kick ass with 'em.
yeah, they have little they're tiny little wingmen. Ah,
Yeah,
it's so great.
and
So
you could remote control them too, I think.
yeah, no, you can totally give them orders. You
Yeah.
totally give them orders. It's so great. So we have a question for you, Mike, from Twitch. This is from Bribe Guntails. Okay. It seems that the MES renders the MTS boosters redundant since both require LENR online. Will there be ships with or without MTS boosters and suffer for a lack of them?
Well, the main engines.
I'm gonna get an aspirin. I'll be right back.
How do you
Uh,
think I feel? I had to read the thing.
the main engines aren't tied into the RCS thrusters. So if you just had the main engines, you wouldn't have any attitude control. The MTS is tied into RCS. But let's say that weren't the case. Yes, you could have a ship with just MTS, or you could have a ship with just MES, as long as you had some way to, again, control attitude. The reason for including them both is MTS has a lot more power, which you may need for shorter transfers or escaping, uh, you know, uh, a planet with strong gravity, or I can think of a lot of situations where that the more powerful thrust would be needed. But it is propellant based, so there's not enough to get you, um, from one planet to another, and without doing a typical, transfer maneuver. So that's the reason for including them both. You have the planet to planet drive, which is, the MES system, and then you have the local maneuvering, um, which is the MTS. So there's a use for them both.
That's an excellent question. So, what would you say is the most complicated system to model on one of these ships?
Um,
I would guess the internal wiring, because you had to build all these components have to talk to each other in there.
They do. I think that was the most complicated. If taken independently, I don't think any one is any harder or not than the other. Getting them all to work together in a coordinated way, not only electrically but logically, that was the trick.
Yeah, because I looked at some of the wiring diagram stuff that people have done in the Steam guides, and it's the interdependency of the systems and why you have to activate certain systems in a particular order to be able to bring other things online. And I would guess, like, if you jump backwards in the chain and you cut something off, then it just basically is going to shut down everything that's past it, right? Because
Right.
they're dependent. So if I did that, do I have to then turn everything off and then bring that dependent system back online and then reinitialize the things in order, like I'm doing a boot procedure? Or can I
Uh,
just turn the thing off that I turned back, or turn on the thing I turned off that's at the beginning of the chain, and everything after it pops back?
right now, it would be more of a pop back, because there's no consequence for not shutting those systems off before power hits them again. Does
Okay.
that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
because it's like they
that
don't have to reinitialize from
right.
zero.
They would obviously this every time the system turns on, it goes through an initial, Jesus Christ, that word. Um, but yeah, there's no consequence for power hitting it with it being in one state or another. But that's not always going to be the case. The damage ties are there for that. They just haven't been hooked up yet.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, because I could see, if you like had a system get disrupted, like let's say you're in combat, or with something this complicated, I would think just system failures could get simulated, which would be an interesting mission in itself, right? It's just like, oh, just go out and fly around like it's Microsoft Flight Simulator, and oh well, hey, this system just went offline, so figure out how to fix it, kind of thing. And I could see a lot of that for pilot training, of just operational errors that happen. And
Actually, very soon, um, I need to model the equipment bay for the Flying Fox, that ship that's in there right now. And once I model the equipment bay, I can work up some quick component part models. And once I do that, um, I'll give you access to the equipment bay, and then we'll start playing with in-flight repairs. And once that happens, then yes, I would like to build a couple single mission. That's based on whether it be, let's say mission A is one of your MTS drives goes out. You need to repair it in flight so you can get back home.
mm,
Um, and that will introduce the idea of in-flight repairs and how you'll work on your ship. But
right.
again, the first thing is to get that art up and running so I can do that.
Okay, because yeah, like you would flip over one of the MFDs into DST, which is diagnostic self-test, and actually like kick the system again and watch, so you would have like status of the components as they boot up, and it would show you like, okay, this one's still faulted or whatever. And a lot of times, just with the Apache, right, if something went weird, it's kind of like, thump it with your fist, like Fonzie, and it's like, did it come back on? No. All right, turn it on and off a couple of times. Did it come on? Yeah. All right, we're good. And so it's the old adage, like, have you tried turning it off and back on again? So, and of course, then when they got
Hello,
back, they have
IT.
to replace it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we had it was the same thing on the B1. We'd have red ball. Pilots would be out there, and this or that doesn't work, and the first thing you go up there and do is probably kick the part, and just to see if you can, something didn't toggle. So you just give it a good kick and see if it came on, and then you'd start replacing components. But yeah, that always kind of freaked them out the first time you did that.
Well, we got 2 questions from the chat
Okay.
room. The
Got hung
first,
up, sorry.
what?
My Skype got hung up real bad. Sorry.
Oh no, you sound fine.
Yeah.
Good, yay. Curious Epic wants to know what kind of gameplay options are there for physically repairing the ship.
What I have planned right now is we're going to start simply with simple component replacements. Um, that would be like the system computer for the LENR. Something is faulted with it. The quick fix would be just to swap components. There'll be breaker resets, like for example, the main buses, all the electrical buses, they don't have breaker resets at the cockpit. You have to go down in the equipment bay for that. And there will be wire harness replacements. And once those are in, then we can explore more nitty gritty stuff. Like troubleshooting, wiring, that sort of thing.
I was gonna say you should totally make it like, do I cut the red wire or the green wire?
We're going to start large scale and go down. And we'll get to a point to where, it might be too tedious to be fun. And it's still a game. You still want to have fun with it. So it's going to depend on how involved we want to take that. But for example, I used to sit on the B1 with a multimeter and troubleshoot wiring for 3 hours at a time until I found, whatever was wrong. And then we, had to open up the wire harnesses and replace wiring.
Do you do that in flight?
No, obviously.
What? But wait, you worked on the B1?
Yeah, for 8 years.
Holy crap! No wonder you have such an affinity for this sort of thing, because that's a complicated machine, isn't it?
But the B1, you don't EVA and like crawled out the back and get your toolbox and then crawl back in while you're flying. So.
But yeah, so it's just going to depend on how detailed we want to get with it. That's why I want to start with large scale and the things that I got to get back there real quick and change out this part or reset that breaker and then see if I can get going again, and then we'll go from there.
Oh, that'll make the multi-crew stuff even great. Hunter, give me the hydro spammer. It'll be like the Millennium Falcon.
That's kind of what that's really kind of what I have in my mind when I think about the repair stuff is Han Solo in the asteroid field, and
yes,
him and Chewie trying to work on the ship.
Yes,
that wasn't a laser blast. Something hit us.
Yeah. So that's again, that's what I have in my head. You're in combat, and how combat plays out. I actually expect combat to play out more like submarine warfare than I would expect like dogfighting.
Ooh, that's exciting. That's what we want. We've been talking about that on this show since we had a show.
Yeah, so the pace of combat should be such that in-flight repair is possible, so you can survive.
Yeah, it's not just going to be like a health bar that refills. You might have to actually go back.
I don't believe in health bars.
That's awesome.
Or hull ratings or shield levels. No.
Yeah, so this thing is just armor, right? It's not going to be any kind of magic shields that are on it.
This is what I say about shields. When someone can explain to me how a shield system would work, where you could dissipate all the waste heat and would actually abide by physics, then I'll include it. I'm not against it, but there's got to be a proper mechanic to implement it.
Right. So the weaponry that you're gonna use in here, is it primarily like ballistics, or are you gonna have pew laser stuff?
It's mainly ballistics. I expect a lot of guided systems. I could even see launching drone-based weapons. There will be lasers, yes.
How about mines?
Mining an area, I don't know, because you would need a lot of mines. You would
It
need
would
Yeah.
it would almost be like you
Yeah.
park a missile out there and wait, and when the missile sees something, it turns its engine on and flies 100 miles to hit it.
that
Because
that would make more sense than just having a bunch of mines parked in orbit.
Or
yeah,
if
because if
someone's
it's orbit, you don't even need mines. You just like throw a handful of ball bearings out the window, and they'll come back around. And
Um,
not
if you
sorry.
if you get like one of the orbital layers just full of junk, it's like, well, you saw gravity, right, with
yeah.
what's her name? Yeah, so that's all you need is just toss some junk in orbit, and that's your minefield. Like, don't dare go through that belt.
But yeah, and that's what we're talking about right now is, and I even kind of say this with the Steam description of Rogue System, is one of the goals is to explore um, combat in a realistic environment in space, not the World War II style of space shooter that we have right now.
Right, and
Um,
what makes that very appealing to me is because you and I can speculate about, well, it would probably play out like this, or that this would be practical, that wouldn't. But when you actually build the simulation and then you try the weapons systems and then you realize, like, hey, this works really good, and oh, that thing that I thought would work doesn't, because the other ship can just get out of the way of it or whatever, then you're kind of in a simulation where it's going to refine itself through playtesting.
that is exactly right. This is going to be very much a learning experience with community feedback. What works, what doesn't work, what feels good, what doesn't, what makes sense, what doesn't. We're going to kind of learn as we go.
Right. It sounds like you've already learned quite a bit as you go. Do you have any books that you would recommend one can read to get more educated on this sort of thing?
Um, yeah, there's I don't have time for a whole lot of reading. On the ISI Rogue System forums, there's a thread about with book titles that cover realistic space combat. And there's one website, and God, I always forget the freaking name of it. Project Row, I think. But yeah, they cover what realistic space combat might be like.
Yeah, and there's Atomic Rockets that does that, and
That's
Ken
actually
Burnside, who
the same thing as
okay,
Project Row. Yeah.
and
Okay.
yeah, so many of my arguments have been shot to shit by people sending me a link to that site. I'm like, oh well, it would. No, it doesn't. Especially the detection argument, right? Where I'm like, well, you could hide, and nope, you can't. It's like if you so much as light an engine, everybody in the solar system knows where you are, and the only thing you can do is just have a an object between you and the observer, right? And optics, it turns out, optics, because speed of light is the fastest detection thing, because it comes to you. It's not like you have to send a signal out and then have it bounce back sonar style. So it's basically like the ship would probably just have telescopes on it scanning around to try to spot, like emissions off in the distance, and then you'd know. But then you have to guess, well, how far away was that? And that's how much time, right? So you have like, how many light seconds was it? It gets kind of nuts.
Yeah, actually, the current LiDAR-based sensor system that's on your ship, um, the physics of the laser is modeled, which is why sometimes you'll lose a return, or or you won't get a return from it. And it's based on beam divergence and range um, and all that sort of thing. But even communications is based on speed of light.
Mhm.
So if a ship is closer to you or further away, uh, if it's, let's say it's at a moon and you're at the host planet, you won't get its communication immediately.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that have you read Jack Campbell's Lost Fleet series? Because
I
we
have,
had him on here. Okay.
I have
Um,
not.
It's amazing.
yeah,
It's so good.
really good.
I've heard, and like I said, I wish I had more time to read, and shit, I make games and I don't even get to play that often.
Yeah, well, so we had him on here because, well, like my wife doesn't really care about sci-fi stuff so much, but she ripped through those books. Just loved every minute of it, and even kind of got into the battle stuff because he talks about, it's like, well, we're trying to do formations and stuff, but we're doing formations at like 10% speed of light, and the ships are like 5 minutes worth of communication time apart from each other. So how do you keep a cohesive formation and do combat with delays and speeds like that? And
Right.
and he kind of tackles that a little bit, but there's a little hand wavium in there still. But that's why in a simulation that would actually take that on, then you have to actually see it. It's like you can't say, oh yeah, they did a thing. It's like, no, now you have to tangibly prove that tactic would work with those delays and whatnot. So, and that's going to make it really interesting on weapon systems. Depending on how far away can you shoot at somebody, if they see it coming. Like if it's coming at light speed, the first indication they're going to have that it's coming is because it hit them. If it's slower than light speed, they're going to see it coming and they can get out of the way, unless it's a guiding munition. So if you fire bullets, people are just going to step out of the way of it, unless they're close enough that they don't have time. So I guess that would put your range limit where otherwise, I fire something in space, it just keeps going, right? But so it's not like in an atmosphere where it's going to lose power, right? And then eventually fall. But if I see it coming and it's far enough away, I just step out of the way. So I don't know. Is that going to dictate ranges, or what's really ranges for you? Like burn time of rockets and stuff?
um, yeah, I mean, yeah, for me right now, range is strictly based on. I mean, if we're not talking about combat, range is strictly based on life support,
Okay.
and how long you can generate power.
No, I mean in a combat way. Like if I'm
Yeah,
going to shoot at you, like what's my engagement range?
yeah,
Because I can see you
and
forever
again,
away.
that's what we're going to be exploring once the combat starts to come online. I, I have, as you said, I do have expectations. I would think anywhere from, if we're talking high powered laser systems, anywhere between, Earth and Moon range might be valid, but who knows?
Yeah.
If the beam diverges too much, it might not be effective at all.
Right. And if you're shooting missiles at that range, it's like, well, we'll know tomorrow if we hit him.
Right. Yeah. That would certainly you'd have to count for. Is my target going to be on the other side of the body it's orbiting? And is my missile even going to hit?
Yeah.
Obviously it has to be guided, because if it's not guided, all I got to do is thrust for about half a second. I'm out of the way.
Right.
So yeah.
So I guess it comes down to like what do you hope is the feel of it? Do you want something that's going to be like an up close personal kind of combat where you're using the joystick and you have to put the gun sight on the guy and squeeze the trigger, or is it a thing where computers are going to handle all the aiming? You just designate a target and hit the button and they figure out what your lead angle is.
My expectation so far is that most combat is going to occur in orbit with your target, um, which means you're going to have to be, you know, uh, be able to visibly see it, unless you have something guided that you can arc around, the body, that can guide to the target.
Okay.
And you have the orbital mechanics to think about. So, that's got to be taken into consideration when you figure out targeting solutions.
So
So,
that's
I,
almost like a naval solution then, because it's like
right,
if you're going to shoot guns, you got to consider curve of the earth, and if
right,
you're going to shoot missiles, you can shoot over the horizon.
right. So that's why I say I really sort of expect combat to be a submarine-like affair. It's going to be slower paced. It's going to be much more calculated. I think it's going to be reasonably close, but I don't think it's going to be up in your face. Um, However, I have shown that you can actually do that. In the old prototype version, there was um, a test mission where there was an AI and he had a railgun type system, and you were able to circle fight with him, and it worked. It worked well. Um, the the thing is, are you ever going to get into that position to begin with to use it?
Yeah. So, and one final thing from me, and then I'll let these guys have you. As far as perhaps an assistant AI on board that could kind of like be like Siri, right? And then will guide you through things. Like it's almost like, oh, well, walk me through the startup procedure. I forgot that,
Yeah,
and then it could talk you through it.
yeah,
Or if a system needs rebooted, it could be, all right, here's the process. Do this, do this.
yeah. I call it the SOI, the ship's onboard intelligence, um, or and I don't use artificial intelligence because that sounds too much like SAI, and that's for something else. But yes, the goal is that the ship's computer will be sort of your co-pilot. It'll be able to handle startups for you if you want. It'll be able to handle low-level functions for you if you don't want to do that, as long as it's not damaged and on. If it's damaged or destroyed, then you're on your own, because it's just another system like anything else is.
Oh,
The
okay.
thing is, it's really hard to implement that sort of thing on something like this until all the systems are finalized. Otherwise, if I change a system, then I got to go back and change the way the ship's computer interacts with it.
Oh yeah,
So
absolutely.
that's why it's not in yet.
Is the ship's computer going to have a bit of sass to it? Like talk
I,
back at you, that sort of thing?
I would like, if I had my way, I would like to do
No,
voice.
you unlock the door.
I would like to do voiceover, and I would like you to be able to choose at least either a male or female voice. And if I really had my way and I had the money to put towards it, I would like to introduce personality into those voiceovers. Yes, and you
I'm
can
sorry, Dave. I can't do that.
Yeah,
Uh,
I was actually just looking up Douglas Rain to see if he's still with us.
Is he?
I'm still looking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's still alive. So there's hope.
Oh, that's awesome. That'd be amazing. I'm sorry. I can't do that, you son of a bitch. That would kill me. Cute
but yeah,
cat, by the way.
as it stand, thank you. As it stands right now, you know, funds are limited and it's just me, so it's right now it's going to be text only.
No,
Oh
that's
wait,
totally
here's an
fair.
idea. See, you
Uh-oh.
can't afford Christopher Walken, but you can afford somebody that can sound like Christopher Walken.
Hey,
That's good enough.
flip that switch, you son of a bitch. Sorry.
Wow.
Wow. Whoa. Ah.
Yes, go through that door. You know, I never liked cucumbers. But anyway, you're gonna take a left at the next corridor.
Cucumbers are crazy.
Yeah, speaking of cucumbers, have you
Oh,
exposed
no.
that cat to a cucumber yet to see what goes on? Because I see these videos all over the internet,
What?
and they put a cucumber and the cat turns and sees it and like freaks out, like about,
What?
does a backflip. I don't know
Yeah,
why.
apparently cats are afraid of cucumbers. Apparently, I don't understand.
It's a myth thing that we need to confirm or bust.
I'm so confused right now.
I'm gonna have to we'll send you the cucumber cat videos. There's like a huge montage of like 1,000 cats that are freaking out.
What?
Well,
Someone
no, we're testing it now. My wife brought a cucumber.
Oh, so someone said someone on
cat's
Twitch,
sniffing
Jack on Twitch said that because it's similar to a snake.
Might be. I guess
That
if you
seems
have
reasonable.
it in your hand and you hold it up to the cat's face, it's not as spooky. That might explain the behavior here, because the cat's just sniffing it like, wow, what is this?
That is a big cat, by the way, Mike. That is a big cat.
She's the smallest one. I have three of them, and the one we call Jabba the cat. She's enormous.
So you're doing this full time, so you get to work at home with those cats. I'm guessing, right?
Yes. I put in. If I don't put in 12 to 16 hours a day, I don't work. But I do get to work
Jeez.
at home, so that makes it bearable.
Now, do you take them as tax deductions?
Dependents, yeah.
I work for Social Security. I could probably get them Social Security numbers.
Yeah, you know
Okay.
what? As much money as you put into a dog or a cat to feed them, to take care of them, the way, I mean, because if you don't take care of them right, then it's animal abuse. And
Agreed.
so it's just like child abuse. If you don't take care of a child right, it's abuse. As much money as you put toward animals, you should be able to deduct them, damn it.
Yeah, tell me
I
about it.
agree.
Today was
They are like they're a dependent. They are totally a dependent.
yes, and
And
I
I
have
tell
a
you,
$2,000 vet bill from today to show you.
Oh,
I tell you what, if you made dogs and cats deductible, right, and you could actually prove all the expenses, blah blah blah, you would have a lot less homeless pets.
people would take so much better care of them too.
And you'd have
I
a lot
love
more
it.
crazy
I
cat
love it.
ladies.
We're changing the world here on the Space Game Junkie podcast.
Dude, if you went in, you'd go into like an investment bank, and they would just have cats running around. It would just be like, we pay no taxes.
Oh no, I thought you were gonna have them invest in cats. Like you want to
Well,
put
maybe.
$200 on this tabby here.
Yeah, you'd have Jim, what's his name from Mad Money, Jim Kramer. He'd be like, take all your money out of tabbies, put them in Calico. Calico's hot.
So Mike, the campaign, because that's one of the things I'm most excited about, because there aren't enough dynamic campaigns in space games. There's what, two? Yes, two, and that's it.
Two in what? What games?
Star Shatter,
Right.
and what was that, Mike?
No, I'm agreeing. Star Shadow was one.
XCOM Interceptor.
I never played Interceptor.
Don't. Just don't. Just don't go near
We
that.
only know by rumor.
It's bad. It could have been amazing, and it's like, what happened? And I bought the strategy guide for that game so I could read the notes in the back about its development. And they seem so excited. Oh, someone has a question I forgot to ask earlier that they asked earlier. I'm sorry about that. Bribe. How does time acceleration or time skip or the frozen thing work in multiplayer? Or do you even have that planned yet?
Uh, in multiplayer, here's the thing. Obviously, everyone has to say time synced. Everyone has to say synced up. So you can't do time skip. So you have two choices in multiplayer. You either do strictly multi-crew, where you have to, if you're going to do like a jump from one system to another, everyone has to get into a suspended animation tank at the same time to make the jump. Event horizon, if you will. They did that. Everyone got into the sleep tanks or whatever they were. So you would do it that way, and then you could still use time acceleration because it's local to everybody. They're all on the same ship. Now, if you do multiplayer with multi-ships, where everyone can do their own thing, then that is not possible. And then you have to introduce, hand wavium instant.
Yeah, it's like the mission has to begin when they're in proximity.
Oh, hand wavium.
That's why I say multi-crew co-op is an absolute must. That is what I absolutely want for multiplayer. And if I do multi-ship multiplayer, which I would like to have, then yes, we have to introduce a little trickery here and there to get around that. There's just no other way.
It would be, I'm imagining multiplayer with all the stuff going on and the in-flight repairs and whatnot, and I'm thinking that this is going to be the most complicated game of Guns of Icarus that the world has ever seen. I don't know if you've ever played Guns of Icarus.
Oh, Jesus,
Hunter and
I
I
didn't even
have.
think about that.
I
Yeah,
have
'cause
not.
Okay, and they have a new game that's coming out that they had at E3. It's pirate ships, right? But it's also the same thing. So, like if you're sailing and it's like, oh, hoist up the mainsail. Well, somebody has to run over there and do it. And if two people do it, it happens twice as fast. That kind of deal, or load the cannons and whatnot. So you have crew that's running around doing the jobs on the ship while the captain's turning the wheel and steering. Guns of Icarus, which is a blast. We need to do that like some multiplayer night. But Guns of Icarus is what, a 4-man crew, 5-man crew, and you have a
I believe
captain.
it's 4.
Okay, so you have a captain and you got 3 other guys running around the ship, and his stuff gets broken. they pull out a wrench and run up and bang on it until the health bar comes back up, and then your engines start working again or whatever. And then as far as manning the guns, they have to stand there and shoot the guns too. So you have to make a choice: do I stand here and shoot the gun, or do I run over there and put that fire out? And
Yeah, it's a very interesting and complex game to the extent of if you're not playing with people that you can actually communicate with, it is a horrible experience.
oh, it's infuriating.
Which is why I'm kind of curious about the multiplayer of Rogue system, because if like maybe ship intercoms go down, that could be very frustrating.
Oh, that's actually kind of amazing. So if you had built-in voice comms,
Oh.
and then you can lose it. But of course, people are just going to play on TeamSpeak then. But
Oh no! You're ruining my immersion, Jim.
I'm sorry.
No, if that was native to the game, I would totally use the in-game voice comms
Oh hell yeah!
to do that. Absolutely. Oh my god. Screw Mumble. I would totally. It's not like Elite Dangerous, which voice comms are like, why is this on? Turn it off. God damn it. No, I would totally use that.
Yeah, it's like you fire up the main drives, and then Hunter's like, "Hey, did Brian ever come in from that EVA?"
Guys,
I think he was behind the engine.
He's like being pulled by a tether.
Oh god, that'd be the
Flash.
worst. That
Like
would
that
totally.
scene in Alien where she blows it out the engine of the shuttle.
EVAs will be coming online soon as well. Again,
Ooh.
the holdup is the art because I have to model the suit. I have to model the airlock section of the ship. But otherwise, um, yeah, EVAs will work just fine.
Have you modeled the bathroom yet? Remember we had this discussion about a year ago about the sink and the toilet. Yeah,
Functional bathrooms, I don't know.
that's a stretch goal, right? Or just a stretch. We'll just say
'Cause
it's a
then-
hell of a
then-
stretch.
Then you'll have to use it for recycling purposes.
You know that, but
Mr. Fusion.
That's why I've been saying on the forums. If I could hire just one full-time experienced artist, that would take so much of my workload away. I mean, it's like 50% of my workload, just one artist.
So what
Uh,
about somebody that wanted to volunteer and just do it for free? Do
okay.
you trust that? Because if you're paying
I
them, they're more stable, right?
okay. Let me start with this. I appreciate all the volunteer offers that I have gotten. I really do. And I will tell you that in 99.9% of the times, what happens is, um, yes, I want to volunteer. Yes, okay, let me spend time. Let me tell you how things work. This is what I need. Since I'm not paying you, you work at your own pace. And within 2 weeks, they're gone because of real life, because it's more work than they expected, or whatever. Uh, so you can't count on it. You absolutely cannot count on it.
Right. And that's why like open source projects like Pioneer just drag for years trying to get
Yes,
updates out.
right. So, yes, the goal is to be able to hire an experienced artist, and if you can support them and you support, an artist or a programmer or whomever by paying them, so they can pay their bills, so they can live, so they can focus on what they're doing. If you can support them, then they can support you, and that's
Right. You
just
get
what it is.
because you've got their undivided attention for at least
Exactly.
8 hours a day.
Exactly.
Do you foresee that happening? Like, I'm not going to ask outright about sales, but do you see that happening as the early access goes on? Maybe.
If I were to look at sales right this minute, no, that's not going to happen. It's my ability to work on it is not in jeopardy. My ability to hire other people to help me work on it, yes. Now, what I hope is that as we go along and more gameplay gets added in, and it starts to get more and more fleshed out, it'll gain traction, and I don't know. We'll see at that point. I have two development paths. I have um, I call it like a streamlined core module, and where if I have to work by myself, I move certain things out until after release, such as character animations, such as story elements, cutscenes. All that gets shoved aside. It's not gameplay, so we wait. and then that lets me focus on gameplay aspects and the assets that are needed for those, and then I can do that. And then we catch up on all the cool stuff afterwards. If I can hire, then we can start to pull some of that back in.
Oh, that would be awesome, but yeah, focus on what you need to focus on.
Right, right. It's gameplay has to come first. I don't obviously I want it to look nice, but you know, if how many games have you seen that look great but are shitty to play, and you focus on them, you play through them for maybe 3 hours, and then you're done.
Yeah, speaking of Star Citizen, are you gonna sell?
Uh,
Are you gonna be selling JPEG ships and no?
damn it. Damn it.
So we can't pre-purchase ships and okay.
Damn it.
You know, I just hate it when developers go to E3 and then they have nothing to show. Like, that's just the worst.
Or they don't go at all.
They did
Or they don't.
no, but the best part was on their stream where they were talking about E3 and all the cool space games that were there, and then they weren't there. And
Wait,
like,
they
well,
did.
guys-
Wait, they did that?
Oh yeah,
They did that.
What?
We will send you the link of this live stream that they did and just how arrogant it just was. The whole thing just
Oh.
the worst.
I do not want to join in on the Star Citizen bash.
I'm trying not to either, but it's not
How-
getting.
how-
It's not easy. It's not easy.
However, I did hear them call Call of Duty. What's it called? Which
Infinite
one?
Space, Call of Duty, Infinite Space,
Infinite Warfare.
Infinite Warfare.
Yes.
Thank you. Sorry.
What is it? How they put it? It was something of Wing Commander.
yeah. He's like, if development of
natural
Wing Commander
progression of
games,
Commander.
yeah, had been uninterrupted, this is where we'd be with And he's like,
What?
just think of how it would be, because we got this now, and boy, if Wing Commander had kept being a thing, where would we be? And it was just like
Yes,
I'm
that
watching
happened.
that stream, and it's just like, hey guys,
And the reason I bring it up is, but isn't that what you were trying to make? Is
Yeah.
the next progression of Wing Commander? I don't know. Like I said, I don't want to go into a whole Star Citizen bash thing. I try to stay out of it.
I do
Well,
too, but it's difficult. It's difficult when
it
they.
becomes more difficult by the day.
It becomes more difficult when they, in 2012, when they launched their Kickstarter and everything, they said they'd launch a game in 2014. That's how it gets more difficult.
You know what? Yes, that
They shouldn't have even given a date. They shouldn't have even bothered.
okay.
Well, they,
In
they
my
feature
opinion.
creeped themselves into oblivion with it.
Oh, not Oblivion. That's
Stretch
the
goals.
worst Elder Scrolls game. Come on.
I know, right? But they feature creeped it during the Kickstarter so hard because they kept coming up with new stretch goals, and they didn't take the time to consult anybody to find out if the engine would ever actually be able to support those things. So now
Oh
they're
no.
holding to it.
No. They did consult somebody, and what did they tell them?
I can't name names on that one, but yes, a close personal friend told him no.
Just okay.
So-
Anyway, moving on.
Anyway.
Rogue system.
Anyway. Yes. Yes. Rogue
And
System.
this is related. My only problem with the whole thing is, and I've said this before. I said this on my Twitter feed. If I had 1/8 of the money Star Citizen does, so I could hire just 2 people or 3 people, you know, I would be set. Rogue System would be set. I don't need $115 million to make a game.
But then how will people buy virtual pants? No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay, so here's
How
what would
the
happen.
fuck?
If you gave
So-
me $100 million, I would go to Rockstar and I would say, I want to license the GTA 5 engine. I'm going to put spaceships in it and planets and cities on the planets. All right, we're done here. And, just hire some people to flesh that out for me.
Let me tell you something about that GTA 5 engine. I recently went and did one of their like scuba diving missions, and the extent of how big their world that they've made is, like, you can go really deep underwater, or you can like go really high up in the air, and the extent of the map and just like what you can do. And I thought to myself, huh, This is pretty in depth what they've given people the ability to do. So
You-
Well, yeah, and you can climb in and out of vehicles. You can fly planes. You can drive a submarine. You can do all kind of crap.
You could tell
have
the folks.
gunfights.
You could tell the folks at Rockstar really love Los Angeles because between Grand Theft Auto 5 and Midnight Club Los Angeles, they're both serious love letters to this city. They really love this place.
Somebody's got to, I guess.
Hello, hi, I love it. We love it anyway. Except when it's on fire. We don't love it when it's on fire. It's totally on fire right now. We don't.
Yeah,
love
can
it when
you
it's on
can you
fire.
smell the smoke like if you open up the window?
Thankfully, I'm not that close to it. That's one
So
of the benefits of LA is it's so freaking sprawling that there's a fire like 15 miles north of us, but I can't. No,
no, it's the smog. You still smell the smog.
it's actually the smog's not that bad. It was bad in the 90s, but it's not that bad now.
Right.
I'm very defensive of my adopted hometown. Very defensive.
Yep. So we gotta let Mike get back to.
Yeah, we've been talking for a while. So, what is the next? Let's wrap this up. What would you say is the next big thing you're working for a Rogue system?
First person module.
No. For the early access thing, what is the next big thing you plan to implement as the early access goes on?
Actually, let me pull up. Hold on.
He's probably got a Trello or something going on here.
I will read you a list,
I love lists.
and that list is actually in Steam discussions. Upcoming features pinned. I want to get on the VMS your main display. I want to get a trajectory tunnel put in so you can visually see your changes, your acceleration changes, and see where you're going to go. Which includes velocity lines or some form of velocity display so you can see how fast you're moving, quote unquote. I'd like to show off the attachment system to where you can put parts on ships, and this will come in. This will actually come in later. It'll be more use later in the Maverick module when you can own your own ship and upgrade it. There's attachment points and you can add things to it. But you'll be able to add on. So I want to put solar panels onto the Flying Fox using the attachment system, and I want to strap a couple of the test rail guns that I built onto it using the attachment system, just so you can see that you can plug things into it. Because that's not in the current Steam version right now. I'm introducing a planetary an orbital positioning system, OPS. When you're logged into it, it'll show you the position of any other ship in orbit around the planet that you're logged into, and it's a satellite system. So as you're approaching a planet or a moon, you'll be able to see everything that's orbiting around it and get updates on its apoapsis, its periapsis, its velocity, and all that sort of thing. I want to add the airlock art so you can do EVAs, which again, I have to do the art for the airlock, the art for the suit, and then you'll have EVAs. I want to model the equipment bay and component parts so we can start doing repairs and give you a reason to use the first person mode. And let's see. And then pilot reactions will be reintroduced. And they're what you saw in the prototype for Kickstarter. Breathing is in right now. The pilot inhales and exhales, and that affects your atmosphere, and carbon dioxide has to be scrubbed.
Oh, are you gonna have choking noises like Elite does if your life support starts going?
Yeah, that was
That is
actually
the worst.
that was actually in my prototype too.
Yes.
You had oxygen deprivation and
I love it.
carbon dioxide poisoning and that sort of thing. If the pilot gets too cold, you'll see breath. Gets too hot, his breathing will be labored. He'll react to G-force. And finally, in the upcoming features is to be able to use the remote manipulator arm that's on the front. You can work with it right now, but it can't grab anything yet. So we're going to be adding that, and then you'll be able to grab a satellite and hang on to it and make repairs to it or whatever.
That's goddamn amazing.
And
can't
I
wait.
expect all that within the next. I hate to give a date, but I'm going to say within the next 4 months, I should have the bulk of that in there. And then we start working on the assets for combat. Uh, Actually, the dynamic mission structure is in the generator that controls that, and obviously the scripted mission portion of that is working right now because you can play the tutorial missions and such. Um, so once the art assets for all the the your enemy ships and your anyone else in your squadron and civilian traffic, once all that's in, then we can start building up campaign missions.
So let me ask you, because someone in YouTube just said, "I wish I could afford this." Is that $10 option still available, or is that gone now?
That is gone. Yeah, the early access that was strictly through ISI.
Okay.
All there is right now is what's on Steam. I I did get confirmation from Image Space that Rogue System is going to be part of the Steam Summer Sale.
Oh,
No,
that was my next question.
yeah, that is strictly up to Image Space, and they said it is going to be part of it. I do not know how much off it's going to be. You just have to check, when the sale starts, and I can't. I'm not allowed to say when the sale starts.
Thursday. It starts Thursday. We all know. It leaks.
whole
We
world
all
knows,
know.
yeah.
We all know. It's
Yeah, okay,
Thursday.
well,
It
if you
starts
already know,
Thursday.
then good.
It was one of Gaben's little helpers that let that slip.
I mean, we never know what's going to be on sale or for how much, but we always seem to find out when it's going to start. Yeah, I'm sure it's an accident that the date leaks. Yeah.
It's like the worst kept secret.
It's the
And
worst kept secret.
I know, but it specifically says.
But yeah, you have to abide by whatever you have to abide by. But as
You
fans,
cannot
we're like,
be
yeah, we
more
know
deny.
it starts.
So
Thursday.
yes, when the sale starts, check back, and I'm hoping it'll be like 17-20%, but again, I don't know for sure.
That would make it a lot easier for people to bite because $30. I mean, to me, $30 is worth it, but that is a bit above. I think a lot of people's impulse range.
For early access, absolutely. But then again, the ISI's take on it, and again, this is strictly through them, and it's their decision. But Image Space's take on it is it's not, it's not I am bread. It's a freaking simulation. They are a lot harder to build. They require a lot more resources.
Oh, you're
So-
preaching to the choir here. I totally I paid $60 for it, and I feel it's worth every penny.
And
But
shoot, what is it? Planet Coaster.
that's 80, right? Isn't that 80?
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah,
elite. That's
$4
the
for their alpha.
that's the Frontier. Yeah, Frontier's roller coaster sim is like
Planet
$80.
Coaster.
Yeah, Planet Coaster. Yeah.
My God. In Goat Simulator Space was like
I keep
what,
forgetting to play that.
$5.99?
I keep forgetting to play that. I own it.
It
and I keep
has a
forgetting.
complete feature set of everything that Star Citizen promised for $5.99.
Oh Jesus. But yeah, so that's great to hear that you got a lot planned. It's going to be in the Steam Summer Sale, which starts in 2 days as we record this. Probably when this drops, it'll either be that day or the next. But yeah, I think I'm out of questions. What about you guys?
No, I'm excited, man. What you got coming? It's pretty cool stuff. So, hey, I just real quick, I just looked over at my news feed on Facebook,
Yeah.
and Bryan Cranston is confirmed to be Zordon for the new Power Rangers film coming out.
Who the what? Oh,
Bryan
I
Cranston.
never watched I never watched Power Rangers. It was a bit after my time.
No, I get that. I'm just saying it's crazy that they're getting him.
The man is a working actor. I mean, let him. He can
It's
do
gonna be like
whatever
Godzilla.
he
They're
wants.
gonna kill him 5 minutes into the movie.
Yeah, I
'cause
mean,
they pay him by the minute, right?
he has house payments like anybody else. I mean, why not? One last question: is a flight stick needed for this? I don't think so, right, Mike? You can play this with a mouse and keyboard if you really wanted to.
Yes, a lot of people actually do play with a mouse and keyboard. It's especially for docking. They seem to get I enjoy my X52, and when I get it hooked up and going, my Warthog. But Yeah, a lot of people find keyboard control a lot more precise when doing like docking and that sort of thing, and prefer it. So
I gotta say I appreciate it because not all Sims support multiple devices, but
right.
I got 4 devices here that I use for my HOTAS, and I'm really glad you do. That's really nice.
It's not hard to. Um, I don't know why more people don't, but it's not hard. There are special cases like, for instance, the Thrustmaster Warthog, the toggle switches. There are some special cases to account for, but the average, controller, it's not special case at all, and it's not hard to support more than one. I don't know why they don't.
Yeah, the only Space Sims I know that do are yours, Evacron, and Elite, and that's it.
Right.
But it's really nice that I don't have to just use my stick. So that's very nice. So yeah, guys, the game Rogue System. It's on Steam, $30, but it might be in the Steam Summer Sale for we don't know how much less.
No,
But
it will be in the Steam Summer Sale.
yeah, but we don't know the discount. So folks, keep an eye on it. This is really great stuff. If you tried to fly the A-10 in DCS and go, I wish they could go to space. This is your game. If you played Falcon 4.0 and went, I wish this was in space, this is your game. If you're playing Star Shatter and go, I wish someone would make a new version of this is your game. Damn it. Mike, it has been a pleasure having you back on for the 3rd time. Serious pleasure. We should just have you back every 50 shows or so.
No, I always like talking to
to
you
check
guys.
in. Oh, it's always fun. And
He's our intermittent co-host.
well, the thing is, when we first talked to you, you were running a Kickstarter for this, and that sadly didn't work out. But you got picked up by ISI, which is it's kind of a Cinderella story, really. At least
It's probably for the best that the Kickstarter didn't work out because you get flooded with money and then so the having to work for it made him honest, right? Kept him.
Okay.
But yeah, folks, the game is Rogue System. It is on Steam. Regular price is $29.99 American, but again, it's going to be on the Steam sale. So just a couple of things real quick before we wrap up. Next week on the show, you might remember a while back, we talked about this game called Imperia. It's meant to be like Crusader Kings in Space, much more personality focused. That was like 100 shows ago. Well, we're bringing them back to talk about that. So that's exciting because that game looks awesome. It's gone through significant changes since we last played it. And on Thursday night, we're taking a break from the viewer polls. We're going to take a break from space games, actually, and we're going to get together and play some Elder Scrolls Online. We're going to visit Ancient Tamriel because Elder Scrolls Online takes place before any of the other Elder Scrolls games, if I remember correctly. So that'll be fun. And Mike, where can people find you online real quick before we wrap up?
Let's see. On Twitter, what am I at Rogue System? Yes, and Rogue System on Facebook. You just do a search for it, it'll pop right up. And on YouTube, I believe I'm Michael Juliano, if I remember correctly.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you, folks, for listening and for watching. Again, the audio file, I'm sorry about that. I forgot to hit the record button, so I have to rip it straight from YouTube, so it might not sound awesome, but I apologize for that. But I want to thank everyone for watching and listening, and we'll see you next week. Have a good night.
Because we were both in Mumble at the same time, too, so every time he was talking, I was hearing
that would do it.
strange ass echo.
Guys.
Yeah, I was
come on.
broadcasting out multiple orifices or something. Yeah.
Now, Mike, that was a great show. And I don't know about you guys, but I think this camera thing really works. Because it feels like we're having an actual conversation where I can look at someone while they're talking. And that makes it, I think, a lot more engaging.
I would agree. I certainly found this one a lot better than the first two. Again, just because I could see you guys.
Yeah, so Jim, for next week, please get your camera up and running. And I'm gonna.
Yeah.
I just
I think-
downloaded the software for. They're charging money for the software for the PS3i camera now. It's like $3.
Oh no. There's still a freebie version. I don't know.
You know what? Last time, no, I bought it because last time I used it, it was great. It worked perfectly. And you know what?
Yeah, it's worth $3
$3.
to not have to
It's
sweat
worth $3. You know, I mean, for good software development, I don't mind paying for it. So, yeah, so I'm gonna get that installed. Wait, I'm still live? How am I still live?
Now you gotta go back and check yourself. Did I say anything?
What? No, I
We
shouldn't.
didn't break NDA. Oh no.
How the hell can I still be live?
Well, his OBS still says streaming.
Oh God, no, OBS doesn't, but YouTube says it is. What?
Well, it's not real.
Okay, that's weird.
CloudVault's like, also, you're still alive, Brian.
That's pretty hot.
Why?
I would say exit OBS.
I would
Do not trust.
control delete that, buddy. Control delete, Brian.
Yeah, next thing you know, you'll be streaming
Eject.
a whole lot of things you don't want to stream.